So my name is Simon Farbrother. I'm the City Manager for Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It's a community of about 825,000 people, and I've been the manager there for 3.5 years. I've also been a City Manager in 2 other communities in Canada. And I'm lucky enough this year to be the President of ICMA, an organization that's tremendously important to me. So as I believe the 5th international president in the 100-year history of the association, obviously, I have an interest in the international portfolio. We live in a very complex, dynamic world. Information flows very, very rapidly, and decisions are made on a global context nowadays. And so, as an organization, how do we position ourselves in that environment? How are we successful in that environment? Remains really, really important. And there's a huge opportunity in terms of sharing knowledge and sharing best practices and just building relationships with people around the world, because the issues that we face are predominantly the same. So contributing to one's profession, I believe, is really, really important. It is around a couple of things. One, it's a huge opportunity to learn, and secondly, it's a great opportunity to give back. It's a really important profession that we're a part of. It's a dynamic profession. There's the ability to continue to learn and grow in terms of our own capacity. And one of the big mechanisms for doing that is our professional affiliations. And ICMA is a tremendously important one of those. So as we think about providing leadership as city managers over the next number of years, there's probably 2 pieces there. One is that there's a mandate around continuing to grow the profession. And in order to do that, we've got to create opportunities for people coming into our profession. And we also got to provide leadership development opportunities when they're within our profession. And so whether that's through initiatives that are done by ICMA, or whether it's through initiatives done by the community that you work in, it's really important that we do both. The next generation does have a strong value-based, which is aligned with the public service, but at the same time we've got to provide them opportunities to actually learn and grow and develop. So providing job opportunities is tremendously important. But secondly, within those job opportunities, providing for growth and development throughout their career remains critical. So when our US members think about the potential relationship with either international delegates or members from around the world, there's a couple of areas where it's easy to get an early connection. One obviously is when delegates attend the conference or connect in webinars and the various initiatives that we provide there. The second opportunity is really connecting in terms of knowledge exchange, whether it's through the knowledge network, whether it's on the web. Is just the ability to find out what other communities are doing around the world. If you're in Australia, you're dealing with public engagement. If you're in the UK, you're dealing with public engagement. If you're in the US, you're dealing with public engagement. And so why wouldn't you take advantage to understand how others have approached a situation? And then secondly, international managers have an opportunity to learn from US managers. It's a two-way street. I think there's a couple of areas there. One is that there's an ongoing openness to learn. I've yet to meet anybody that couldn't learn something new. And so, because we live in such a dynamic and rapidly changing environment, we really need to have our heads around the fact that it is a continued learning experience. And so, a willingness to look at new ideas, a willingness to try things is tremendously important when you talk about the innovation agenda. So one of the things that I think ICMA has invested in the last number of years is moving away from the requirement to have that face-to-face contact. That still remains really important, but having other opportunities to learn and connect. And so whether it's on the web, whether it's through the knowledge network, whether it's through just basic email, the ability to share ideas with other members is much easier today. And it's also, obviously, it's immediate. It's not like you got to wait a week for a response. So people can have real-time dialogues around issues that are important to them. And that's, a key element of what ICMA is about. With over 9,000 members worldwide, there's probably someone out there that can provide advice and guidance on an issue. And so it's important that we reinforce that opportunity for our members. And it's a key value for being a member of ICMA. One of the other interesting things is, with the rapid growth of population worldwide, there's projections of, over 100 new cities in excess of 1 million that don't exist today in the next 20 years. We are moving into a very different environment where cities are being built with the latest technology, best environmental practices. And so as communities, how do we compete with that, in established cities? That is a challenge, but it is our reality. So in order to think about that, it's important that we reach out and understand what's going on in communities in Asia and China, because otherwise we will get left behind. When you think of ICMA members, it is easy to think of ICMA as basically being sort of a conference, and it's great that people connect to the conference. But I think the value that ICMA brings is it's really 365 days a year, 24/7, and it has a resource, network of resources that can really support different needs. So if you're looking for a subject matter expert, you could connect in. If you're looking for a thought-provoking issue that you need to respond to, you can have a dialogue with somebody and get some ideas around that. So you're not forced to solve the problem on your own. If you're looking for support in terms of the role as being a city manager, we have the Range Riders program, and you have that ability to connect with others. So there's the ability to have technical resource, there's the ability to get emotional support, and then there's also the intellectual stimulus that can come with being a member of ICMA. So when I think about the role of the city manager in the last 100 years, words like manager, technical expert, to engineer something, right and wrong, black and white, those seem to be words that have sort of been synonymous with being a city manager. When I think about the next 100 years, the language is really changing and has changed over the last number of years. And what that is really around a facilitator, leadership, learning to work in the grey area, being politically astute without being political. Those are all skills and competencies that are actually just basic to fulfilling the role today. So one of the things that we'd like to do is really focus in on how does ICMA support that new leadership framework, which is different. The role today is different than it was 20, 30 years ago, and the role 10 or 15 years from now will be different as well. But it will be characterized by an environment where we are not the subject experts anymore. We do not get to control information. We're not deemed as being the people to make a decision. Our role is moving much more into a facilitative role. It's moving much more into how do we move people through difficult conversations. And it's much more behavioral kind of characteristics than technical characteristics that will actually ultimately determine success. Our history of sort of looking to other levels of government to support and uphold sort of the delivery of services at the local level, I think is going to become less and less. There's going to be greater self-determination of communities. There's going to be a stronger influence of the community itself defining what's important. It isn't just about providing protective services, that's tremendously important, but when people make decisions about where they live today, it's about quality of life, and quality of life is the full spectrum of service. So I think you're going to see moving away from sort of the core service discussion about this or something else. It will move more into, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. So how do we figure out how we do both? And that's going to be the discussion that we're going to see ourselves facing.